the God of the universe displays himself in the full revelation of the totality. Now, I'm just going to say that again. In the full revelation of the totality. Now, why am I saying that? Let me return right now to the word Catholic and why the word Catholic was chosen by the early church. You see, the word Catholic comes from two Greek words. It comes from the word kato and the word holos. Now, in Greek, these two words mean in relationship to or concerning, that is kato, and holos means the entirety. Actually, where we get the word whole, W-H-O-L-E, comes from the word holos. So the word comes, the two words come to mean in relationship or concerning the whole. Now, how do you get Catholic from there? Well, you know how here in Texas, we don't say you all, right? No. We say y'all. Y'all. And by the way, who knows the plural of y'all? All y'all. Okay. You take these two words and you put them together and you get this. Now look at this. Here you have two O's surrounded by a silent H. So what do you think language does to that? Holos. And that's where you word, sooner or later, in English, that got changed to C-A-T-H-O-L-I-C. The classic translation. The word Catholic comes from the ancient church trying to understand the implications of the belief in the incarnation of God. Now, the problem is that we just say, oh, okay, that means universal. The problem is that it doesn't just mean universal. It does mean universal. But I would like to give you an idea, actually 4 ideas, that have helped me to understand what it means when the Catholic Church says that Jesus is the whole, concerning the whole. Here's the point. And this comes from a great theologian by the name of Avery Dulles. Avery Dulles was a cardinal. He died recently. And you might remember his name, some of you who are older might remember John Foster Dulles. John Foster Dulles was Secretary of State under Roosevelt. Was it Roosevelt? Eisenhower. It was under Eisenhower. Avery Dulles was John Foster Dulles' son. He became a priest, and he wrote a book. It's fairly complicated, but the book is called Catholicism. And he said that in order to understand Catholicism, you have to have 4 different points. And so what he does is he basically draws a cross. Now, I want you to understand that when we use the word Catholic, most of us tend to use it in a way that is diluted, okay? As in made watery. We think of it as one denomination. When people ask you, what is the denomination? I'm Catholic. Okay? The word denomination is having a name. De-nomen. Having a name. I always get a kick when somebody says to me, I say to them, so what church do you go to? And they go, Oh, a non-denominational. Now, you know why I think it's funny? Because you know what they say? They're saying, I go to No Name. To No Name Church. Now, folks, ain't no such thing. Now, you can make No Name into a name. You can say, hello, my name is No Name. Okay? But you still got a name. Right? Why? Because there is no such thing as generic no-name theology. For example, if I were to say to you, let's go to dinner, and you say, great, and I say, what kind of food do you want? And you answer, generic. Just give me no-name food. Now, let me ask you, where do you go for no-name food? There is no such thing as no-name food. You're going to get either Chinese or steak, or you're going to get Mexican, or you're going to get fusion, you know, of all kinds of stuff like that. But there is no such thing as generic food. It's always something. It's the same thing with religion. Religion is always something. You may not like it, or a pastor may, Joel Osteen down there may say, I am no name. But when you investigate his theology, it's fusion theology. A little bit of gospel of prosperity, a little bit of Baptist, a little bit of this. It's just a mixture. Now that's not bad. But just don't think, oh, those mean old Catholics and Lutherans and Methodists, they have names. We have no name. Yes, you do. Your name is No Name. Okay, that's your name. You can't have a no-name person. So, the word Catholic can be used as a name. But when the church uses it, it's not meaning the Catholic Church does not consider itself a denomination. We don't. We consider ourselves, now remember, you are here hearing Catholic theology. If I had a Protestant theologian here, he might disagree with me. David Capes would disagree with me, somewhat. Not too bad, because they use the word Catholic, but they use it with a small c. So, what is this? Because this has to do with Catholic. Who was the first Catholic? Now, I'm using the word Catholic not as a denomination. I'm using the word Catholic as concerning the whole, as an adjective. Who was the first Catholic?
Peter?
No.
Mary.
No. Jesus. Jesus was Catholic. Why do I say that? Because Jesus is the source of Catholicity. Now, that may be a word you've never heard before. Catholicity. Now, why do I say that? Now let's look at this. There are 4 different types of Catholicity, of way of being Catholic. Remember what it means. It means concerning the whole. In Jesus, what the church says is that in Jesus, we have the fullness of revelation of God. God, there is no more to learn about God that is found outside of Jesus. Jesus is the wholeness of God made flesh. The Gospels are full of that. Right? The Gospels in John, in Paul, all things were created in Him. In Him all things continue in their being. If you read the faith of the ancient church, they're telling you that Jesus is the fullness concerning the whole of who God is. Now, you may disagree with that. But the church had this experience of standing before a human being who was saying he was the truth. Deal with it. However you're going to deal with it. You can say it was crazy. But he said, I am the truth. And so what the church says is, in Jesus, we have the fullness of God revealed. We will continue to understand more deeply the identity of God, but it always comes through our understanding of Jesus. Because Jesus is the fullness of God made human. Now, what's the bottom one? The bottom one is still concerning the whole. You see, what the Catholic Church is saying is that in Jesus, Jesus fulfills the fullness of the identity of human beings. If you walk into the church, when you see on your left-hand side from this, there's a picture of John Paul II, a painting. And in there, he has a statement that the moment you understand or grow in understanding of Jesus, Jesus is the fullness of human beings being human. To the degree that a person is like Jesus, the person is fully human. To the degree that you are not like Jesus, you are a fake or a superficial human being. Jesus is listen to this, he is the Catholicity of humanity. He is the fullness of what it means to be human. When you see Jesus, what you are seeing is the original human being totally displayed in the fullness of what a human being ought to have been. Jesus is the fullness of humanity. When you see him, you are seeing what human beings should have been before we screwed it up. He is the fullness of him. He is the Catholicity, the wholeness of humanity. So notice what you got at first. The word Catholic doesn't just mean universal. It means that the fullness of God lives in Jesus. That in Jesus is the full revelation of the human being to himself, or to herself. Now what are these two? This is length and depth. Length. Or actually, time. What we're saying is that time was created in Jesus. Jesus, that's why he is called the Alpha and the Omega. The two letters of the Greek alphabet. He is the beginning and the end. All things were created in him. Think of John, the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Talking about Jesus. The Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. What John is saying right there is that in the beginning there was the Word. And at the end of time, time will conclude in Jesus himself. He is the end and the beginning. So all of a sudden, look at how Catholicity is expanding. What you're dealing with is a church that says God is fully revealed in Jesus. Humanity is fully revealed in Jesus. Time is fully revealed in Jesus, and space. What the Catholic Church basically says is there is not one iota of matter that was not created in him, through him, and for him. That is straight from the Bible. In him, through him, and for him, all things came to be and continue in being. Jesus.